The attorney, do you have anything besides regular business to talk about, Mr. Wills?
Sorry, I've got another step over. So, I don't really have anything to add. I'm sorry I can't be there tonight. Was diagnosed with COVID last week, so I'm on the ends of that, so, thought it probably wouldn't be a good idea.
No, thank you, and we're sorry, yes. But I think you are going to speak in the regular business to some things that we've asked you about.
I couldn't do it.
I said in the regular business, we do have some things we'll talk to you about.
I don't really have anything.
Yes, okay, all right, thank you. Danielle, do you have anything?
I have nothing for my report right now.
Okay. Chief Davis?
I don't have anything to report, guys. The monthly report is in front of you. If you have any questions, please feel free to ask. As of right now, I can't think of anything.
Okay, thank you. Les in Public Works?
I have nothing, unless I got some questions.
Okay, thank you. Derek, Water Sewer?
I don't have anything to report. Happy to answer any questions.
Rusty from the water plant?
No updates or anything going on this month, so if you got any questions, just fire away.
Okay. We had a little tornado damage, not tornado, wind damage from some trees that are down, and that's being taken care of over the fence. Steve, wastewater plant?
Business as usual at the plant. Y'all got any questions, I'll be happy to try to answer them.
Okay, thank you. Chief Hyatt?
Monthly report's been submitted.
Got it. Thank you. Scott?
I'm gonna break the cycle, I guess.
Finance office.
Proposed is $10,311 that we, town of Carthage, would pay. We're saying, we're willing to pay 20% of that. Their proposal says we'll accept 50%. So
But
there's,
then it says 25% next, so I don't.
yeah, that's a different thing. though.
Question.
Yeah.
Did you have a
Yes.
question?
Well, it's not a question. The 25.
Aspects of it, went over that in the financials. The second part of it is we're going to use the rest of it for water sewer infrastructure, specifically Turkey Creek. So that's item number 3.
Okay, and then number 4 is, that's to do with the computer. He wants to group these together, so number 4 will be with the computer system, right?
Yes, ma'am. Local area network inside the finance office. Number 5 is our purchasing policy, which is just documents the way that we purchase things, how we run it through the office, and we had a procedure to follow. We made some enhancements, but primarily what we had was good. We just expanded it.
Yes, sir.
Second thing.
Okay, second. Now, has everyone had a chance to thoroughly understand and read this, and is it a discussion at all, or any questions for Scott or anyone about this? Okay. If there's no discussion, all in favor?
Don't we have to have a roll call to do with money?
Well, then we'll have to do these
Well,
individually.
I thought that was just to group them together. Was that vote not?
Oh, yeah, we group them together.
Right.
Well, I mean, now I'll make a motion to approve all 3.
Okay. Just for the record, could we just have an individual vote on each, because we need that for our record, that we passed each one individually? Yes, sir.
I made a motion to group all 3 of them together and vote for approval.
And JC, I believe, seconded.
Seconded.
No, we
That-
voted on
We agreed
Well, that,
approval was in that last,
it. Okay.
so.
okay. Okay, we're going to group together, just for the record, ordinance BA 2021-1202A-2, ordinance BA 202-11202B-2, and resolution, which is not an ordinance, and it only requires 1 reading. The others require 2 readings, just please keep that in mind. Resolution CR 2021-1202B. So we're grouping together 2 ordinances and 1 resolution. Again, the ordinance will be passed after 1 reading. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so the ordinance is passed as, the resolution tonight, the ordinance has to have one more reading in order to pass. Okay. The next,
I thought these were the second reading on both those.
Those are second
is
reading.
there a second? Oh, okay, I'm
On 3 and
sorry,
4.
then they all pass tonight.
You
then.
still, we're not doing a roll call vote? I just wanted to make sure.
No.
Okay.
That's,
Okay. Just checking.
you really should, but anyway.
But-
This is Nashville, I mean, I think we,
Yeah, okay. The next item is tornado siren. Councilman Babcock, you want to address that?
Yes, I do. I'd like to let y'all know, I spoke to Mayor Potts in Gordonsville. They're getting ready to put in their tornado siren. They had a few bids, and they rejected those bids. They're going to get some more specifications from another company and request new bids. I spoke to Mayor Potts. He said if we were to co-op together, we could save a tremendous amount of money, because one of the most expensive parts of this is a computer system that goes up into the EMS building. And it's not gonna be one of those systems where someone sits there and pushes a button. It comes straight from NOAA, straight into the computer, and sets off the sirens. So I'd like to make a motion that we put this out for bids, get the specs and put it out for bids for the cost.
Yes, sir.
do we know what their lowest bid was already over there?
Their lowest bid was $25,000. That was for the manual system. The highest bid was $35,000.
But you say the manual, that's where somebody has to punch it in.
Right, the $35,000 is the one that goes through NOAA. But the new system that they're looking at now is all solar powered, and it's probably gonna be upwards of, I think he said somewhere around 60. But that's, you got the $14,000 computer, I believe it was, and the installation of all that. And if we can go in with that, we can save at least $7,000, because we can hook our system right into theirs.
Okay, no, do we have a motion? before
Yeah, I have
we-
made
He's
a,
made one, I just want to get some
He was-
clarification.
Okay, do we have a second? So let's discuss.
Well, my
it.
hands up.
Okay,
I'd like to second his motion.
okay, so we can discuss it. Also, this was sent in by, I think there was a gentleman who was gonna come speak to this tonight, and he sent this in instead. I think there was a packet that you put in, yeah. Yes.
Cole asked me to print it out and hand it to you.
This gentleman who's with the Upper Cumberland Weather, sent
We
us.
can handle that. We probably need to vote on this first, though.
Okay. I do have a question, because, do we have any specialists in this area who could come to talk to us about the price and all of this before?
that's exactly what we're doing. If we make the motion to put it out for bids, I'm gonna get the specifications. That way we can put it out for bids, and then the companies can come at one time. There'll be 3 companies come, and they'll bid it. And then if we decide to do this,
If you put it out, first of all, you're right, but we do have to have someone who knows how to write those specifications. If it's an
that's already in the works, Mayor. I've talked to Mayor Potts. They have the specifications. They've already got their bids. They're going to give them to us.
Okay, then we will have to put it up for a formal bid. It could be 4 or 5, it could be 10 people, but we have to open it up to everybody.
Well, I'm saying we have at least have to, I agree. I'm not saying what I'm picking. I don't even know who's coming.
Okay.
But
Okay, can we just, any discussion on this, please?
Well, I've just now got the chance to read over Mr. Taylor's letter. I don't mind hearing from Mr. Taylor. I think he's a valuable part of this decision, or what he does for the community, so I wouldn't mind hearing from him as well.
Yes, sir.
I agree with that. I think all this kind of ties in together, because right now we're just voting on bidding it out. And we wouldn't know the bids until next month. We could have him come next month when he says he'd be available. That's what he told me today, said he'd be here for the next meeting. So it wouldn't interfere with that at all. We could still hear from him and then hear our bids, or vice versa, whatever we want to do. But one doesn't
Yes,
cancel out the
yeah,
other.
right.
agree.
Yes,
I'd like to
better
hear,
with
I would like to hear
decision.
what Anthony says about this.
I agree.
Did a lot of research on it, and, I'm sure he's qualified to come and talk to us about it, so I would most definitely like to have him come.
And then I'll try and have one of the representatives from,
Okay, and Chief Hyatt, you probably know a lot about this in your experience. What do you?
I love the idea of sirens, tornado sirens. The only question I've got is, if one will do, yeah, and that part I don't know, we might need more than one.
when I talked to Mayor Potts, Gordonsville's gonna get one. They may possibly need 2, but we may need 2 because we're much larger than they are.
And you're aware of the same thing that I am, that a lot of times people don't hear sirens in emergency vehicles.
Right.
Because of the cars, townhomes. It might take more than one. One thing you mentioned was another one of my concerns, if you've gotta have a human to push that button.
Right, the
That
new,
eliminates one problem with it.
the new system doesn't have to have that. It comes straight from the NOAA, straight
like
into the
that, too.
computer.
I do too.
And then, but I mean, like I said, this is just a vote to put it out for bids to say, I'm not saying yes. I was asked by some citizens to put it back, because this was on the, remember it was back on the agenda last year, and it got tabled for this long, so.
Somebody that knows more than I do would need to evaluate whether we need 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, there'll be companies that come in
That's my
and,
biggest concern.
Yeah.
Would be, what do we really need?
right, I agree.
Just, the process would be whoever is going to get the specifications will bring it to the city, and the city will formally put it out for bid. So do you have someone in mind who could give us those specifications?
Yes, I was gonna get all the information from Mayor Potts. He's already got all the specifications that's needed by the
Okay,
state.
if you can get that to the
I-
office, we'll.
I plan on doing that. As soon as he gets it to me, I'll get it to y'all.
Yeah, and then, we'll have to put, there's a process that has to have so many days in the newspaper and.
Mayor,
it's a formal
call to
process.
order. Can we have a vote, please?
Well, I'm just letting you know.
I understand how the process works. It works the same for everything we bid out.
No, it doesn't, but go ahead. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, if you'll get those specifications to us, we'll take care of getting that bid process started. Thank you.
Okay, well, the question though, back to Mr. Taylor, will he be able to come?
I told him,
Yeah.
that's okay.
I
I
mean,
talked
if-
to him today, he
Yes.
said he'd be
So
able to be
can we
next
put
week.
him on the schedule?
Yes, let's put him on the schedule for next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, okay. All right, then we have, next item is a special permit change of date. Councilman Babcock?
Actually, it's not a change of date. They're requesting that they get a, what is called a rain date. So their event scheduled for
I'm sorry, who are we talking
the Smith County Historical Society, May 14th.
Okay.
They're requesting that they take and reserve June 4th also. They want to make just an addition to their permit. So if it rains on the 14th, the event will be on the 4th. That's,
I make a motion to approve.
Have
Second.
a motion, a second, any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Did they say what date the rain date would be?
June 4th.
June 4th. Okay, thank you. Then we go into new business. This is about the employee premium for health insurance after retiree. We've been running some numbers on that. Will, I think you took a look at that. We need, this is a legal issue, so we asked the attorney to look at it and give us some thoughts about it. Will?
Obviously, again, the way of y'all's voting decision, whatever y'all vote on, but as I stated the last time, there was questions about whether or not, about what age this started. My take, the initial proposal was it would start at 52 or 55 or something after a person's been there for at least 25 years for 75% or whatever it was, and then if you've been there 30 years plus, you get 100%. Well, my question is, and when Scott and the mayor and Danielle and I had sat down trying to draft a proposed ordinance for this, there was all kinds of questions that continually came up about this. One of the questions I had, I used to work for, obviously as y'all all know, I used to work at the sheriff's department, and I started when I was 20. Well, under y'all's proposal, if I use myself for the example, if I would have started at 20, well, I theoretically could have retired if I would have stayed, if I wasn't in the city of Carthage when I started at 20 at 45. Well, if I'm 45, my question is, can I get the retirement or can I not? I think there was, the last time we talked about it, someone had said, well, no, you can't, you gotta be 52 or 55, and whatever it is, it's fine, but we have to be able to nail down those numbers. Another question that I have is, and I don't know that it would stick, I don't really know the answer to this question, but a sticky area that we could be getting into, are we discriminating against people, like in the situation that I said for myself, well, I'm 45, but I've got 25 years experience. Well, your law is discriminatory against me because I'm so you're discriminating me based on age. And I know someone's gonna say, well, we discriminate against people all the time because you gotta be 62 to retire. Well, I understand that. I don't know whether a person would be successful or not in that lawsuit. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it could open up potential for litigation that probably is going to be very costly for the city, that no actuarial study is ever going to tell you how much that's going to cost. The next thing that I don't know if it's a legality, I think it's just a logistical idea, is I know that Scott has tried to produce the numbers that you guys would possibly have to pay in the future, and I don't really know how that, I don't know that you can ever say, well, that's what we're gonna have to pay. I understand, as you said here right now, in this scenario, you've got, this would only apply to 3 employees. However, I think when you make laws such as this, you can't just say, well, that's all it is right now. Well, what about the people that you hire an 18-year-old today? Well, theoretically, that's gonna apply to him too if he stays for 25 years. So it's not just the 3 people now. I see this very, as far as legalities, difficult to do without answering these questions. I don't know how the city, and this would be more of a Scott answer, but I don't know how the city necessarily comes up with the financial numbers with the situations that I've proposed. And I think they're real life situations. I don't know how you make a financial decision, I guess, based upon that, because we have to answer those questions. What if somebody turns 45, but they got 25 years experience? Are you guys willing to vote that they get health insurance until they turn 62? Now, you guys can do whatever you want to do, obviously. If you make a discriminatory law, someone might say, well, but we may never be challenged on it. Oh yeah, you may not be, but there again, you may be. And we all know that the cost and litigation are, the winners and the losers. Yeah, there may be a winner and a loser in the end, but everybody's losers because it costs to go through the litigation. So that's what's going to be tough.
Did we?
And I think that's what's hard to make this decision with this retirement policy. And I'm not trying to dissuade or persuade anybody to do anything. If you're going to do it, you have to answer those questions before you try to make some type of ordinance or vote on this, I think.
And just to be clear, what you're seeing is a draft ordinance is just what Scott and I kind of took your words and tried to put them into language, but it does not necessarily meet the legal test that he's talking about. So we want to be very clear about that. We just have something that we wanted him to see, and this is what then our legal is telling us. And Scott, I think we didn't do an actuarial report on this to talk about what he's saying to project in the future. We just try our best given what we had. Is that correct?
I recommended in my research to the council that we have an actuarial study completed, as well as having human resources attorney draft the ordinance and check out the legal specifics. This is a specialized area of law, and if it cost us $30,000, we'd be well ahead of the game to make sure we got it airtight. So.
From my understanding, we put a cap at $30,000 on this. That's the maximum out of pocket for the city per year is $30,000. All we have to do is take out the age ranges on the retirement. If you get 25 years, doesn't matter if you're 30 or you're 60. We pay it up to $30,000 for whoever's retired. They have split it out evenly amongst all the retirees. That's.
Scott, you want to address that? That's come up.
Can you hear me, Will?
Yes.
Okay. One of the questions that has come up and posed by state agencies, because I've run all this through them too, is that how would our retirees know if someone else became eligible to be a retiree? We've capped it at $30,000 to protect the town and citizens, but what would happen to those retirees? Do they now get less? And that's the way it's written. But they're concerned about,
And
The verbiage in there as far as what it says is what you're saying.
yeah, they're concerned about the people that are retired. What happens in 10 years or 15 years if we got enough on there that $30,000 doesn't go very far and, you know, they've been planning on it or whatever. So that's one of the
Then we can
concerns.
address it then though, can't we? And raise it.
Well, we just have to decide that if it's gonna be, 30,000 is gonna be our cap. If there's 10 people, you divide it $30,000 equally amongst them 10.
Right.
That's just the way it is.
But then the legal question to follow up on Scott is, can that be construed as discrimination? One got it this time, one got it. I tend to agree with Scott to protect ourselves.
How would that be discrimination if everybody's getting equal amounts of money?
Equal should be equal.
May I?
Last I checked in the dictionary.
I don't know. I'm just curious.
But I would tend to agree with Scott, just to protect all of you legally. Why not get an actuarial report? They're not that much compared to what we're talking about. Why not get a specialist in the area of employment, an attorney in the area of employment? So everybody's covered. We're taking care of our future for our employees and keep taking care of yourselves in the town. I just think sometimes this is too important. to
How much money do we think that's gonna cost though?
Well, an actuarial report, we could get one for 3,000, easy, 3,000 to 4,000. Well.
She said 3,000 to 4,000.
5,000 maybe. If it was 1,000 employees, that would be different. We've got 30-something.
It'll be $6,000 to $10,000 and,
You know.
but I would say to you,
That's a third of a year.
Yeah.
yes, but for the potential negative ramifications down the road, my recommendation continues to be get the actuarial study, get a human resources attorney, and evaluate our ordinance and just make sure we've covered our bases to the best we can at this point in time. And if it costs us $30,000 this year to get it exactly right, so be it. This one
In the long
can
run,
have some risk to it.
in the long run, it protects the town, it protects our employees for their future, because we get it right to start, and it protects you all. It's sort of like if you're gonna do something, go to a specialist and make sure we're on the right track. It's not that, I mean, Will's great, but there are specialists in employment law that can help any pitfalls that may be in this to help find it early on.
Does MTS not have a human resources attorney?
We would have to get one, a specialist. MTS doesn't write this stuff for us.
They
That's
can
not-
give us a thought.
That's what I was saying. We could get the
But
information from them.
It wouldn't be a legal opinion,
That's right.
and that's where I would recommend that we work with Will to subcontract a human resource attorney who specializes in this, and then we would have a legal opinion, and we'd have the actuarial study, and we would have done everything that we could do to make sure we can implement the plan as well as protect the town going forward.
And it's a great idea.
And I would,
Yes,
I would add to that, I will, I know a few employment attorneys. I don't know if necessarily human resource attorneys, but I know of several attorneys that practice employment law. I'll be the first one to admit, I don't do any type of employment law. I always defer that to someone else. So, I would agree that I think it would be best to get another opinion. I'm not gonna sit here and say I know everything, because I don't when it comes to this. So I think it would be good to get another opinion from someone who is an expert in this area, if this is what you guys want to do. And I don't care to, work with them or try to help you guys find someone.
Okay.
Would it take more than 1 month to get the opinion of someone that we can find and get a study done?
I think it would take more than 1 month. I think you'd be looking at March before you could have the data. Because actuarial study itself, it'll take a while to one, find the firm, two, for them to do the work.
My point of the question was, if we went ahead and voted, and it's gotta have 2 readings anyway. Have the first reading, approve it if that's what we end up doing, and then getting those opinions for the second one. We save a lot of time going around the room with everybody in the room right now saying they don't know the correct answer. we're just gonna keep doing that for the next 30 minutes. I say we vote on it, move forward if we wanna do a study. I wish it wouldn't take as long. I wish it'd be about a month, and then we could make our decision for the next reading next month. But I don't think we should continue to go around the room over and over. But
Sam, did you have?
One quick thing I'd like to say is, I think that whoever we choose to use, we deserve a quote on what it's gonna cost us, so we don't just write a blank check.
Right,
I agree.
right.
I don't wanna come back $30,000 to save whatever.
we went from 3 to 10 just sitting here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna second Jesse's motion.
I'm sorry, would you repeat the motion again?
I make a motion that we, number one, vote on the first reading, and number two, get the opinion of an HR.
An employment attorney.
That, and go from there.
Do you want the actuarial study done as well?
I think Sam's saying, let's get some, I tell you what, we can send you out some prices.
Yeah, I think we need a quote on it before we say, yes, we're gonna spend the money.
Were you asking him about the price, or were you asking me a question?
Oh, I was asking you.
Oh, I apologize.
just tried to make sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We can go around the room and find out what everybody else wants to do and make a decision from there and add that in. If you guys want to do an actuarial study, then we'll do it. If we don't, we don't. You guys the same thing.
I'd like to amend your motion to include agenda item number 2 under new business, the first reading of eligible retiree, the assistance budget amendment ordinance. That way we get, if we decide to choose that, we got both of them read one time already.
No problem. So I guess the question would be if we want to do the study or not.
I'm in favor of doing this study as well as the HR person. Just listening.
Well, I just want a cap on it, on how much we're spending.
Because I think we need to add that in again too.
We've already got it capped at 30. We voted on that last.
$30,000. No,
Well,
I'm
this
talking
is
about
Oh, the cap on
study.
the, okay, yeah, we did, we
So
need,
to add that in, so another amendment.
can I make a suggestion? Why don't we vote on these two, because it's not gonna pass tonight anyway, it's the ordinance, next 2 readings, and then make another motion to approve the actuarial and the,
Just separate it.
separate the two out,
Okay.
that way we can get,
Well, I'll take all that back then. My motion is to, vote on, I mean, basically what we're gonna do, vote on 1 and 2, items 1 and 2 right now.
motion to approve items 1 and 2.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, discussion, just for clarification, number 1 would be the ordinance to, start paying.
The healthcare.
And number 2 would be to amend the budget to include 30,000 each year, is that correct, Scott?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
But-
we've got 2 different things kind of going, yes, sir. Bill, did you have?
Yes, but both times that we vote on this, wouldn't they have to say the same thing?
I'm sorry, say that again.
Okay, for the second reading, say we passed it on the first reading. On the second reading, wouldn't it have to say the same thing as the first reading? Or do we have to go back and do a third reading?
It can be amended on the second reading, but you have to amend it.
Right.
To do that.
Yeah, I want everybody to be clear about that because we're voting on this way and then doing another one, it's going to have different jargon on it.
Right,
So,
right, and.
just saying.
And if we do the actuarial study, it may impact us too, so. Okay, so the motion.
One quick question. Are we voting to go ahead and go with the actuarial study, or are we voting to get a quote on it?
Right now, we're just voting to approve the 1 and 2 new business. We're gonna make another motion to either get the actual study with the cap on whatever and the attorney fee cap on whatever. This is just so we can get the ball rolling. It may be amended when we get all the information, it may be amended, we can vote on the amendment for the second. But if we wait to get all this stuff, it'll be March before we vote on the first time, it'll be April before we get the second time, we're just kicking it 6-7 months down the road.
I'm good.
Can we, because it's not on the agenda, can we add that? Do we need to add that to the agenda?
You have to make a motion to add it to the agenda, 2/3 vote.
I'm sorry, to add what to the.
If we're going to vote on the HR person and the actuarial study. Yeah.
All right, a motion and a second. Would you read the motion again, please? So everybody's clear what we're doing here. Everybody's clear.
Jesse made a motion to approve the retiree health insurance premium assistance assistance ordinance and the retiree health insurance premium assistant budget amendment all together.
All together.
Councilman Babcock seconded.
Okay. Any further discussion before we vote on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. Now, did Councilwoman, did you want to add something?
You will.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a motion to add to the agenda the ability to request bids for the actuarial study and an employment attorney to investigate our retiree insurance plan.
And I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and second to add, the actuarial, to add to our agenda.
Add to the agenda,
I'll
yes.
vote on that. Any discussion on that? All in favor of adding this to the agenda, aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Let's take a 2/3. We got that. All right, so now would you like to make a motion, someone, to that effect?
I make a motion that we get a quote on any studies involved with this, ordinance. As far as the actuary and whatnot, that we get a quote on.
Okay, so quote on the actuarial and the human resource attorney.
Right.
Employee attorney. Yes, sir.
We gave the authority to go up to $10,000. I think we should say anything over $10,000 would be, but we'd have to have to see, because they have the authority to go up to 10,000.
Okay.
It'd have to be over 10,000 for
And
us.
I'll amend mine to say if it goes over 10,000, but we still need to vote.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
Tired of writing
So
blank checks.
the motion, did we get a second on that?
Yes.
First time we did.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, the motion as changed, amended, is that we will, get a quote for the actuarial study and for the employee attorney's study. If it's above 10,000, we will come back and have a formal vote on it. If it's not, the city will go ahead and take care of this. Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. All right. So we're moving on then to internal control resolution. Scott, do you have, would you like to speak to that just real quickly?
Internal control, we haven't had a written policy, we've had procedures in place. We've just now, the policy codifies procedures in accordance with MTAS recommendations with enhancements to our particular environment. The purchasing policy and the internal control policies will be one of those things we will have to submit later on to, for the grant monies. But it's also working policy because we've adapted them for us, for the town of Carthage. Okay, so we didn't just take a blank thing and go with it.
So this takes a resolution to pass. The resolution number is CR 20220106. Do I have a motion to pass this?
Motion to approve agenda item number 3, CR 20220106.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Any discussion on that? It's pretty much just a formal manuscript that's the city is required to have, and it's been thoroughly worked through. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you. Then we have an ordinance to, basically remove, yes, sir.
Motion to approve agenda item number 4, ordinance number BA 20220106B-1.
I'll second.
Okay, just so anyone who may wonder out there what this is about the sanitation fund, moving around some money from, Scott, again, would you describe what we're doing, please?
We're basically putting the sanitation fund on a pure cash basis of 12 months of revenues collected and 12 months of expenditures. And so we're just increasing our current year budget to match 12 months so that we don't have to do the accrual variances at the end of the year.
Okay, thank you. Any discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. The last item is approval of digital signs. Chief Davis, you want to tell us a little bit about that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Real quick, guys, so myself, Les, Bear, Mayor, we've been talking about some things that would benefit the city. And one of the things we came across was these digital message boards that also are radar boards as well, so they're multi-functional purposes, okay? And it would be based off of solar power, and they're set up on a trailer, if you will, okay? So you can, let's just say we have a problem with speeding on a specific street or something. We're a small department, we may have, you know, just a couple guys on at a time, we may be busy, so we can, if we have a known issue at a specific location, we can drop that there, turn it on, we can let that sit there for however long we need. The street department would be able to use it when we have road closures and things. We can, it has the message board, you can turn that part on, and you can put road closed ahead, detour ahead, or whatever. It could also be used for, if you got events or something going downtown, you could actually put those up, you know, road closed ahead, you know, event ahead, or something like that. It's a safety issue, number one, and number two, it's got multiple purposes that we'd be able to use it for. And so what I've tried to do is I've done as much research as I possibly can, trying to find different companies, different manufacturers, prices, quotes, and things of that nature. They range, depending on what you want, how big it is and all that, they range anywhere from over 20,000 to in the, you know, 10+ thousand essentially. I've settled on one. I showed it to Les and Derek, kind of get their opinion of it. That it's roughly almost 4 foot wide, almost 3 foot tall on top of the trailer. You can actually turn it and angle it whichever way you want. And that one, the quote that I got on it was about $12,400. And
Chief, I think this is what's in the packet here.
it's a different one actually. It's and I'll pass it around if somebody wants to look at it. The one that I think would be most beneficial is this one. Yes, sir.
Are you only getting one, or are you getting two?
I was gonna leave that up to y'all to discuss. It's like I said, it's $12,400 for one, and it comes with the trailer, so we can drop it wherever we want. I think it's probably the best one that I've found as far as the price-wise is concerned, and I think it would be beneficial. Go ahead, sir.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve Chief Davis for digital signs, but to acquire two of them, because that will assist at our festivals and stuff, where we can put one on each side of the road and block it. That way people have something there and not just cones.
So how much were they again, Chief?
So the one I got a quote from, it was about $12,400. That includes the freight actually to get it, and it's probably going to take probably a couple months maybe to get it actually too. By the time they probably have to build it, put it together, and actually get it. So that one is about $12,400. That's about, like I said, most of the other ones I saw were actually more than that. I did see one that was a little bit cheaper, but at the same time, the sign was smaller, and it probably wouldn't get everything you wanted on the sign for road closures and things like that. I don't think it would be as functional. I showed that one with Derek and Les also. They didn't think it would be as good as this one.
Just let me clarify.
Like if we had drunken Indians in the road.
If we had what now?
Drunken Indians in the road.
Yeah.
All right.
Can you put that on this? No. This one says 11.4. Is that what you meant, 11.4?
Well, it doesn't include the freight. If you flip it over, actually, it has the freight charge.
Okay, that's what I was.
Yeah, I know. So the next page actually has the way to print it out.
Would freight change on that?
It should be 12.4 is what they told me with the freight.
I was saying, would it change if we said 2?
It could, yes,
Yeah.
very well could.
Might be cheaper.
You may need to approve for a little bit more just to be on the safe side.
Well, if we approve for 12.4, that's, so 24.8 would be,
It'd be like.
right, and if it goes less than that, we want you to get it for less than that.
If not, do we know which various, do we have something in the budget to do it?
We have plenty in the budget to do that. We'll probably split it between some police department and some public works. But we would, once we have a limit set, we still have to bid this out since it exceeds the 10,000.
Okay,
I'd like to make a motion that they have up to, call it 26, I
Hold on.
was gonna say 25
Hold on a second.
for the both of them.
I've already got a motion on the floor to approve the two at the price.
well, but.
Oh, sorry, I didn't take,
We have to bid it out. Go over that.
This is just to prove us to move forward with that.
Yeah, it's not saying we're gonna buy them, just saying that motion to approve him to purchase the two at this price after getting bids.
Now, let me ask you a question real quick. as far as bids, who do you else would you want me to contact? Just that company? Because it's, I mean, I don't know how that works as far as that. I don't do bids, to be honest.
We'll help you with that one.
Okay, that's fine.
Formally, we do.
Not to exceed the
We
28,000,
have to bid it out, but we can.
I mean, 24,800, excuse me.
I'm sorry, is that what you said?
I didn't know he already had a motion on the floor. I didn't hear it. I don't remember it. So I was gonna make it, but it sounds like it'll be the same one. So.
Yeah.
We discussed anyway,
Yeah.
so.
Did we get a second to this motion? You want a
Now second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Oh, wait, but
Okay, the motion is that we limit it to, what was it?
$24,800.
$24,800. We will bid it out. Any further discussion?
To
about-
accept the lowest bid.
Well, that's a given, yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll bring it back next council.
Okay, thank you very much.
Motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye. Thanks, sir.